Welcome back, students and others who happen to find this video. Let's take a look at regular expressions, lovingly abbreviated as regexes or regexes. I personally would go with regexes. So let's go. Character classes, those are square brackets. And the characters between the square brackets are the ones that the regex engine will try and find. Right, so for example, to find made or make, we can put D and K between square brackets. Let's give it a shot. Let's jump over to AntConc, our old friend, or maybe our new friend, right? AntConc, software created by Lawrence Anthony, a corpus linguist in Japan, originally from the UK. Let's get a corpus in here. So let's go up to File and go to Open Corpus Manager, the second option there in File, Open Corpus Manager. And then there are various options in here. I'm going to click on the second radio button at the top there, Raw Files, that second one. I'm going to create a corpus called Jane Austen. I'm going to add a directory on my hard drive where I already have some Jane Austen novels as TXT files that I grabbed from Project Gutenberg. I have 6 of them right there. The default setting for the indexer encoding down here below the list of files should be what we want it to be, which is simple word indexer, UTF-8 encoding. Yeah, that's right. So that's all good. So we'll come down here and click create on that button there. Create. Took a couple seconds to create the corpus and has now been created. And it shows me information about it on the right hand side. 6 files, yeah. Token count, 729,000 something. Yep, sounds about right. And then on the bottom right of this screen, let me remove myself for a second. Let me remove myself. Come back over here. On the bottom right of my screen, it says return to main window. So I click on that. And yeah, I can see now that I now have the 6 files right there, 6 novels. So let's try that real quick. If we just simply do MA square bracket DK, closing square bracket E, enter on the keyboard, sure enough, what do you know, we get made and make. I don't know if you can see that. Don't think I can zoom in farther than I already have at the moment. I guess I could go a little bit farther actually. Yeah, there's made and make. Awesome. Let's jump back to my slide deck and we'll go like that. Okay, good. So that's how you do it. You say, give me one of these characters between square brackets. You can put a caret symbol as the first character within square brackets if you want to not match the characters in the square brackets after the caret symbol. So for example, if I wanted to find words that have EST in them, but not preceded by B nor R, we can do so. Let's jump back over here. And if I were to do square bracket, caret symbol, BR, closing square bracket, EST, enter on my keyboard, or you can click the start button there at the bottom as well. Yeah, I'm getting words that have EST in them, but they're not preceded by, but the EST is not preceded by B or R. For example, in earnestness, we have EST in the middle of the word, that's preceded by an N. In question, we have EST preceded by a U in question. In handsome, we have EST preceded by M, etc. They're preceded by other things other than B and R. Now you may say, well, I want to actually find words that end in EST that are not preceded by B or R. And that, let's jump back to my slide deck real quick. The second from bottom bullet down there says word boundary. That is a 0 width boundary between alphanumeric characters and non-alphanumeric characters. So let's jump back over to AntConc. And down the bottom part of my screen where my cursor is blinking, down here, if we put backslash lowercase b and then click start with our mouse or just click enter on the keyboard, sure enough, it changed the display. I don't know if you noticed it changed the display there. So now we have words that end in EST that are not preceded by B nor R. Right, so good. We're likely getting a lot of superlative adjectives. Youngest is an example. Now request is not a superlative adjective. All right, that would hurt our precision if we were doing a search for superlative adjectives with this particular regex. earnest, right? There's earliest. That's a superlative adjective. But anyway, you get the idea. So character classes go between square brackets, and if you want to exclude characters, like not find characters, you put a caret symbol within the square brackets, like we've seen here with that regex at the bottom part of my screen right now. Okay, alphanumeric characters are with backslash lowercase w. So if I were to do backslash lowercase w, if I just push enter right now, it's going to take a long time to get every last word of the 727,000 words in these 6 novels by Jane Austen. That's what we're going to try. The bottom part of my screen is kind of hard to see, but that's a backslash lowercase w. And I pushed enter on my keyboard, which is like pushing start with your mouse. And it's working on it's working on returning every last token that has an alphanumeric character at least once, which will be all tokens. That's why it's taking so long. We'll see here in a second that it should pop up. While it's working, let's go back to my slides and look at a couple more things. The backslash lowercase s, there is white space. Now, white space is defined as a space, a new line break, or a tab break. Now, there's a particular thing about AntConc that we can't really use that. We can't use backslash lowercase s because under the hood, AntConc stores the tokens as separate entries in a table. And so it's not contiguous text. So for the moment, we're not going to worry about that backslash lowercase s. And the backslash lowercase d gives you alphanumeric, not alphanumeric, it gives you Arabic numerals there. Let's go see how we're doing back over here. Is it done? Yeah, okay, so it finished. It found 729,000 hits of backslash lowercase w. So if I wanted to say, give me any word, well, let's keep rolling here. I'll finish that thought here in a second. And then the period, bottom bullet here, the period is simply any character, whatever it is, whether it's alphanumeric or non-alphanumeric. That can come in handy sometimes. Now we need to talk about quantifiers. You can quantify how many of the previous thing in your regex you want to find. So the question mark gives you 0 or 1 of the previous thing, whereas the asterisk gives you 0 or more of the previous thing. I'm using the word thing here on purpose rather than character because it could be a group of characters or it could be one character. So yeah, the question mark is 0 or 1 of the previous thing. Asterisk is 0 or more of the previous thing. And a plus sign is 1 or more of the previous thing. So just to show you that real quick, if I were to say, give me an alphanumeric character 1 or more times with the plus sign at the bottom part of my screen. I wish I could make that a little bit bigger for us. You know, it might be good. You know what I'm going to do on the fly here? We are going to try this a different way. Let's go to here. Just get a new document real quick. And I'm going to bump this up to a very large number. So backslash W plus sign. Can you see that? Okay, good. That is what I just typed in the bottom part of the AntConc. Backslash W plus sign. So let's jump back over here. And let's say I want alphanumeric characters 1 or more times, and then I want ED at the end of a word. Backslash B, right? Backslash B is a word boundary. So just to start from the left, let me actually pull this back over to the Google Doc. We're going to jump to the Google Doc. Here we go. Let's throw it in here. So the backslash lowercase w means alphanumeric character. The plus sign says, give me 1 or more of the previous thing, in this case, an alphanumeric character. Then I want the actual letters ED, and then I want a word boundary, backslash lowercase b. So let's take that regex. Well, it's already over here. Click enter on the keyword or click that start button there. And yeah, we end up with 27,000 hits of words that end in ED. We have seemed, ceased, allowed, etc. here in blue. Cool. So that's a quantifier. Let's try with that's the plus sign. That's one or more, right? Let's try with the question mark. If I do labor with the British and American spellings of labor, if I write the British spelling and then put a question mark after the U of labor, let me pull this over to our Google Doc real quick. Let me pull it into here. So I'm writing labor, and my Google Doc is saying, hey, this is wrong. And I know it's a British spelling, and I'm American. But what this is saying is saying, give me LABO, and then give me a U, but that's optional, meaning 0 or 1 occurrences of the U, and then give me an R. And if we let that go here in Jane Austen, the majority, if not all of our hits should be the British spelling, as she is British, right? Or was British. Well, there's an example where it's not. Laborious doesn't have a U after the O of the first O of laborious there. So anyway, that's a way to say this is optional. That previous character is optional. And good. Now I do want to point out one last thing about quantifiers. You can use angled bracket or curly braces there, curly brackets. It's kind of hard to see on my slide, but that's a curly brace. Okay, you can use curly braces to delimit the exact number of matches of the previous thing that you want. So, for example, let's go back over to AntConc. Well, sorry, let's just jump over to this Google Doc real quick just to be able to look at it very closely. If I were to say I want alphanumeric characters one or more times, and then I want, let's say O. Let's say any vowel. Let's do a character class. Any of the 5 orthographic vowels, and the previous. I want 2 of the previous thing, and then I want some alphanumeric characters after that. This looks a little Chinese, a little Greekish or Chinese-ish or something. But here we have alphanumeric characters one or more times, and then between square brackets, we have any of the 5 orthographic vowels, and then we say we want 2 of them, 2 orthographic vowels, and then we want alphanumeric characters one or more times. That's what that regex means. Let's copy that over to AntConc and see what we get in Jane Austen's 6 novels. Ready, set, go. And it's going to find a lot of examples. There are a lot of words that have 2 or more characters next to each other. So here we go. We have all sorts of words with 2 or more characters 2 or more vowels next to each other. Here's OU in youngest. Here's OU in intercourse. Here's EA in pleasure, etc. EE in meeting, etc. Okay? So that's how you can quantify exactly how many you want. With that, now you can give a range. Like if I were to say I want 2 or more, then you can put a comma after the 2 to say I want 2 or more. If I wanted 2 or 3 only, like I either want 2 or 3, then you can put 2, 3 between the curly braces to quantify how many of this previous thing you want. In this case, one of the 5 orthographic vowels. Okay, let's retry that just for fun. Let's see if that works. If we come back over to AntConc, Control A, Control V, enter on the keyboard. I wonder if it'll give me any more hits. Or if there are any words that have 3 or more vowels. There are no words that have 3 or more vowels contiguously together. Okay, so those are quantifiers in regular expression syntax. Another thing I want to point out is you can use a pipe. The pipe operator is a vertical bar. On my keyboard, it's on the key above enter. I have to do shift, the key above enter to get the pipe operator. It's a vertical bar. You can use that. So let's actually grab this little regex I have on my slide. Control C to copy, jump over to here, Control A, Control V, enter on the keyboard. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find come or comes or came or coming. And I actually spell those out between parentheses and using a pipe between those forms. And in fact, I'm going to jump back over to here and just print it out. Just put it right here for the moment. So I have parentheses, and I have come or comes, right? So come, and then this S is optional because of that question mark. Then we have a pipe operator that says or find C-A-M-E, or find coming. Right, I'm not putting the word boundaries on this, but you could if you would like. For example, right here, right there. I bet that would still work. Let's double check that assumption. Control A, Control V, enter on the keyboard. Yeah, it still works. So you can use the pipe operator to do or. Cool. Let's see what else I wanted to show you about the basics of regexes. That's it for there. Okay, here is a little exercise for you. I have these 4 little exercises. First one, write regex to find words that end in ed. I just did that a second ago for you. But try ment, words that end in ment. Or tion, that is tion or sion. Or something else, words that end in some sequence of characters. Okay, and then 2, words that begin or start with pre, or re, or anti, whatever. Okay, words that start with a certain sequence of characters. Number 3 here is a more concise regex to match make, made, make, and makes. And then maybe try a few on your own for number 4. But seriously, go ahead and stop the video and try to do those first 3 exercises on your own. Okay? Ready, set, pause the video. Welcome back. Let's take a look at how we would do this. Words that end in ed or ment or shun. Let's just use Jane Austen's novels here. I would do this. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm trying to really make sure you guys see what I'm doing. I'm going to say, give me any alphanumeric character 1 or more times, right? Alphanumeric character 1 or more times. Then give me ed, and then give me a word boundary, \B. So we take that. I assume this is still going to work. Enter on the keyboard. After entering it into the search field, yep, I have words in blue that end in ed. All right, if I wanted to change this to words that end in ment, I would just go ahead and do that. We'll take this regex, Control C, jump over here, Control A, Control V, enter on the keyboard. Yep, now I've got arrangement, embarrassment, management, disappointment, moment, etc. Words that end in ment. Right, and I could just change this to whatever I wanted this to be. If I wanted to find words that end in either E or O followed by R, that is or, right, actor. I'm pronouncing that a little bit oddly to point out I'm saying OR there, actor or player. I would do that, right? Alphanumeric character 1 or more times, then give me either E or O, and then give me R, and then give me a word boundary. Let's try that. Control C, jump over to AntConc, Control A, Control V, down my search box, enter. And after a couple seconds, we have 42,000 hits of words that end in ER or OR. We have her, door, mother, over, answer, floor, etc. Sick, right? As the kids are saying these days. Let's try number 2. Oh wait, no, let's do sion right quick. Sion, shun. And let's go over to this so you can see it super clearly. Right, alphanumeric character 1 or more times, and then I either want an S or a T followed by ION, and then I want a word boundary. So it's at the end of the word. Control C that, jump over to AntConc, Control V, hit that. Yep, we got notion, impression, representation, participation, situation, possession, etc. Words end in SION or TION. Great. We are rocking here. Number 2 is words that start with pre or some other sequence of characters. So let's go back over here. So words that begin a word. So we first want a word boundary, right? Let's go pre, and then we want some sequence of alphanumeric characters 1 or more times, right? And if we wanted to, we can put the word boundary out there. But this kind of, the alphanumeric character thing kind of includes a word boundary, so to speak. Like it'll stop when it's no longer alphanumeric characters. So, excuse me. Let's put this in here in our search box, the bottom part of my screen. Just paste it in there. You can use your mouse to click start, or you can just click enter on the keyboard. What do we have here? We have pretend, pretended, present, and preparing at the bottom part there of the blue column. Yeah, we have words that begin with pre. This would be very trivial to change this to something else. If we wanted to do re, we can do that. Just grab that, Control C that, Control A, V, hit that. Yeah, we got words that start with re. If we wanted to do anti, I wonder how many words in Jane Austen's novel start with anti. Let's take a try. Okay, we got Antigua. Oh, that's interesting. The Crawfords are still in Antigua in Mansfield Park. Anticipating, antiquity, etc. Okay, so yeah, not too hard to find words that start with a certain sequence of characters by using the word boundary marker as well as alphanumeric characters one or more times. Right. Okay. Let's keep rolling. Number 3, a more concise regex to match made, make, makes. Let's jump over to this. So we want to make that more concise. Well, I would do this. I would say word boundary, I need MA, and then I either need a D or a K, and then I need an E, and then I need an S, but that S is optional, right? And then a word boundary. So to read that again, word boundary, I need MA. I need either D or K, then I need E, and then I need S, but that's optional, 0 or 1 times of S, and then a word boundary. Let's Control C that, jump over to AntConc, Control A, Control V. Good, we have made, make, and we should have makes in here as well. There's makes right there. Oops, that made that darker than I wanted it to be. Interesting, okay. Well, that had makes in there, I can't, sorry, there it is, makes. Yeah, that's a concise way to get those 3 forms of that verb. There's makes again right there. Great. And then a few of your own, whatever that is. Hope it went well. Okay, let's keep rolling here. We got to talk about capture groups. This can get a little wild, so stick with me. Pay attention if you haven't yet been paying attention. This can get a little bit wild. What you can have the regular expression engine do is once it finds some characters to remember them. So you can then search for those same characters later in the same string. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. And the way to refer back to the characters that it remembered beforehand is with the \1 for the first, what's called capture group. You capture the group of characters, you have it remember them, you refer back to that capture group with a \1 for the first group. And if you have more than one capture group in a regex, then if you want to refer to the second capture group, you would put a \2. So to take an example, let's look at this little regex here. Let me put it over into this to make sure we can see it very clearly. This is a little involved, but let's just go through one by one, step by step. What is a \lowercase b? Student or someone else? That's right. It's a word boundary. How about a square bracket PTK closing square bracket? Survey says it is P, T, or K, one of those characters, right? With those square brackets to say it's a character class, one of those characters is what I need here. And then we have parentheses, which is the new thing. This is how you remember something. So the parentheses will encapsulate the capture group. And so it's going to remember what it finds. And I have a character class within that capture group, meaning give me one of the 5 orthographic vowels, A, E, I, O, or U, and then remember it with those parentheses, remember it, whatever it was you just remembered, like whatever that vowel was. And then the \1 right there says, now give me another one of what you just remembered. And then give me either P, T, or K between those square brackets. That's a capture, that's a character class. And then finally give me a word boundary. Okay, this is kind of messy just looking at it. You can't read this like you would a regular word, right? You got to kind of work through each little step and say what's going on here. Let's take this over to AntConc, put it into our query box at the bottom of the screen, Control V that, enter on the keyboard. And sure enough, we have 416 results. I'm looking at this number right here. 416 results of a word that has either P, T, or K, followed by one of the 5 orthographic vowels, followed by that same orthographic vowel, followed by P, T, or K. So we have took, we have keep there. Looks like we only have took and keep. Okay, cool. There you go. We could obviously change this and say, well, let's get maybe S's and R's, maybe T's as well. Those are useful consonants. How about B's and D's and G's, right? Maybe we could find those letters. I'm just kind of changing this regex on the fly. So I've simply added in some more consonants into that. Let me Control A, Control V, enter on the keyboard. Now what do we get? We're getting door and good, poor, seek, book. So we're getting vowels that are repeated, like a double vowel. In this case, we have O's and E's. There probably aren't any others. I'm not sure we'd have any others in here. Okay. Oh, by the way, with AntConc, let me just show you. The default is to only look at 100 hits per page, even though you could change that to something greater or smaller than 100 hits. But there are other pages, and right here in the top part, if you click on the next page, it will bring the next set of results. So the next 100 in my case, because I have it set to 100 hits there. Right. So anyway, that's that. You can change that, or just click the next one. So the next page. Cool. So that's capture groups. Those are useful in many circumstances. Okay. Look ahead and look around. Okay, this is also a little bit more advanced regular expressions idea. But what you can do is you can say, I need you to find some characters, but I don't want something in front of it. And I also don't want you to capture that thing in front of it so I can use it later for another search, like in the same search. So here's an example. If that doesn't make any sense, let's just see if looking at a specific example is useful. Let's put this into our Google Doc here to make this bigger. So what this says is, give me an alphanumeric character one or more times, right? That maybe is now something you remember pretty quickly. \w + alphanumeric character one or more times. And then this right here, this is the new part. This is called the look ahead. In this case, it's actually negative look behind. You put a parentheses and a question mark, and then for look behind, you put a less than sign and then an exclamation point, meaning we need to look behind. And then look for an H or P, but we don't want that H or P to be before the ER that we want at the end of the word. That's kind of confusing, right? It might be easier to start from the right side. We want a word boundary. That is, we want something at the end of the word. We want ER, but we do not want that E and R to be preceded by H nor P. And we also don't want you to capture or consume, as another term that's used to talk about this. We don't want you to consume the H or P so that I can use that for an additional search within the same string. If that's all Greek to you and that was confusing, let's see if we can just look at an example here. If I just Control A, Control V to put into my search box at the bottom part of my screen, let that rip. So you can see I'm getting words that end in ER right there. I got answer, I got sister, I got over, gardener, rubber, talker, encounter, angler, or anger, that is. So these ERs are word final, and they're not preceded by neither H nor P. In this case, we have a W before the ER in answer. We have a T in sister. We have a V in over. We have an N in gardener, etc. Anyway, this can be useful where you do look around, either look ahead or look behind. And there are actually four things here, 4 ways to do that. Let me actually zoom in on this one. You can look positively ahead, positive look ahead, or negative look ahead, or positive look behind, or negative look behind. So that can be useful in some circumstances. It's a more advanced thing, and frankly, if you didn't quite understand that, it's not that big of a deal because it doesn't come up to it much that I need that. The next thing I want to talk about is lazy and greedy matching. And for this particular demonstration, I'm actually going to jump over to another website. I can't quite do this on AntConc. The way AntConc is organized, like I mentioned, it puts each token, that is each word or punctuation, to its own little cell within a table and its own little row in a table. So let's say, let me just jump over to another website in a second. This question mark has many different uses in regular expression syntax. We've seen the question mark means 0 or 1 of the previous thing. In this particular context, when it comes after another quantifier, it actually means be lazy with your matching. And if there's no question mark present, then it's greedy. It tries to gobble up as much of the match as it can. Okay, let's take a look at a specific example here. So let's go over to a website called Pythex. Pythex is a regular expression checker kind of built to help Python users check their regular expressions with the RE module in Python. So let's say I have this test string here that I just highlighted in blue. This is awesome, bruh. You want to go? And I have strong. I have HTML tags around awesome. And I have HTML tags for italics around you. This is just simply a little bit of HTML. And so if I were to say, hey, I want you to find, let me zoom in quite a bit so we can see this very clearly. Right there, top part of my screen. If I say, hey, I want you to find an angle bracket, any character, 0 or more times, and then a closing angle bracket within this string that I gave you, right there. What it's going to return is this. It's going to say, okay, I found an opening angle bracket, and then I found any character 0 or more times. It goes past this one right here because it says, oh, the last closing angle bracket is way over there on the right side of the screen. So it went past this closing angle bracket, and it went past this closing angle bracket, as well as this one, to finally stop at this last closing angle bracket. So it grabbed all of this. It was greedy in its match. It grabbed as much as it could. That's why it's called greedy capture. Now, if I were to come up into my regex and say, okay, but I actually want you to be lazy about your matches, so I put a question mark after the asterisk, which is a quantifier, right? The asterisk means 0 or more times of the previous thing, which in this case is any character. Okay, but I say be lazy about it, and then find the closing angle bracket. If we look down at the matches now, you'll see that it stops after at each closing angle bracket. So it found 4 matches. Here's an opening angle bracket, and here's the closing one. And it was lazy about it. It just stopped at the first one. And then here's an opening and a closing one, and it stopped there. So this is called lazy matching. And so that question mark distinguishes those two, greedy and lazy. Right here, it makes it lazy. If it were not there, it would be a greedy match, and it would go all the way to the last possible closing angle bracket because I find a closing angle bracket. So that's called lazy and greedy matching, and that can be useful sometimes as well. Okay, that is the video. This was, you can brainstorm more regexes, perhaps think of characters or words that you want to try and find using regular expressions and give it a try. We can look at your regexes in class, for example. Okay, thank you so much. See you later.